so excited because my family is about to go on a trip to Scotland. Well, everyone's happy about it except Lucky, because she's a cat and she's not going with us, but so excited. I have gotten to visit Scotland once for about 48 hours. I went through Edinburgh really quick on my way back from studying abroad, and it was absolutely amazing and magical. But this time my husband, his brother, and his wife are going. We're all going, and it's going to be lovely. We're going to go to Edinburgh, Inverness, Isle of Skye, Glasgow. We're doing a whole tour of the country, and I need something to wear. Now, I have a lot of things to wear already. I have a fantastic closet, but I've been thinking, like, I want to make a Scotland outfit. I want to make like a dress, because that's what I do. And I have kind of gotten into this thing of making dresses for big life trips and events. So I am going to be making two things. We're going to make the 1910s wrap cape for American Duchess. I'm finally going to join the 80s cape cult. I know. And then also I'm going to make this Vogue pattern here out of the same fabric. I'm going to make the cape and the dress out of the same fabric, so they're coordinating and just this like a whole ensemble. And I got this fabric at like Hobby Lobby, and then this has just been in my stash forever. So it's going to be a good time. I am very excited. So let's start cutting out the pattern, and then we'll see where we go from there.
So you can find the pattern for this cape on the American Duchess website. It is free to download, so you can go ahead and go there right now if you want. But please stay and watch the rest of the video. I will have it linked down in the description box as well. This pattern has been incredibly popular with historical costumers and costubers. You can find a lot of videos about how to make these online and on YouTube. I just typed in American Duchess cape and good gracious, so many popped up. So I enjoyed watching those and learning how to make this cape, and I hope you go and check out some of their fabulous work as well. And let me know if you end up joining the American Duchess cape cult, so that way we can be like cult buddies. So this pattern is a block grid pattern that you have to then size up yourself. So it is on a grid, which means that that one block on the grid corresponds to an inch in real life. This also means that the pattern only comes in one size. So since this pattern was taken from an original garment in a collection, it's going to be the size of that original garment. Now, if you are the size of that original garment, great, you don't have to do anything. If you are not, then you're going to have to adjust the pattern to essentially be your size. You can add an inch here or there, take away what you need, but you're going to have to do that on your own. I'm not going to be able to help you in that situation. My measurements were pretty close to the original, so I didn't have to modify too much. And as you can see here, I am drafting with pins. I prefer to draft with pins instead of marker or chalk. I think it's easier to move it. As you can see here, I'm adjusting because the sleeve was really hard to draft.
So it took me a few tries to draft everything out correctly, but I think we're there. We're here. We've made it. Everything should be drafted correctly. Am I nervous that it's not? Of course. Of course. Trying to transfer this diagram onto actual fabric requires a lot of counting, a lot of brain power. I'm trying to decide if I should go ahead and cut out tonight. About 9:40, I start winding down for bed about 10. I got 20 minutes to do this. I'm trying to decide if I want to let it percolate one more night. See if I catch any airs. I always feel like I catch something. But I don't know, I did a pretty good job on this, I think. I moved stuff around multiple times after looking at it and being like, you know what, this actually needs to be tweaked here and there to line up more with pattern. I like using pins for that. I like using pins to help me draft patterns instead of like drawing something because, well, I think this is much easier to move and to tweak. You just move a little pin here, pin there. Like right now, I'm seeing over here, I have a little bit more of a round, I need this to be a little bit more here. After looking at it from that angle, it's not as good of a line, so I had to tweak this. There we go. That's good. That's better. Now I did not put a seam allowance in with the pins for my seam allowance because this pattern did not allow for seam allowance. I'm just going to cut a little wide around, and then that'll be my seam allowance. I'm kind of a like, well, there's no time like the present, just go ahead and do it mindset at the moment, but also I'm not in a huge rush for this. I have actually given myself time. It is the end of August currently, and I'm not leaving for Scotland until the end of October. I am actually trying to not sew myself into a deadline. I know. It's something new. I'm trying. But it also doesn't create as much of like a rush, and I work well under pressure and under a deadline. But you know, I guess this is like, what do you call it? Relaxing? What is this relaxing sewing that I speak of? I'm trying it. I'm trying it. I think I did a pretty good job drafting that pattern. Also, it's a little, there's not as many pieces as I thought there would be. For this pattern, it looked more complicated than it actually is. And I love projects like that, where it looks super complicated, but it's actually nice and easy. Love it when that happens. Capes are pretty easy. So, okay, might do a couple more measurements and then actually cut.
You know that old saying, measure twice, cut once. Thankfully, fabric is a little bit more forgiving than wood when working in that medium, but still, it's not great if you don't cut it correctly. But after doing so many double checking of measurements, I finally went ahead and I cut out the pattern. Now this sleeve pattern right here, that was the most difficult thing. I actually went back and I got myself some patterning paper this summer as well. So I actually, before I sewed it, went and traced it around on that paper so that I have it, because I do not want to have to try to figure that out again. Also, speaking of not wanting to figure that out again, I used the lining as my guide for the tartan fabric, which is going to be my outside fabric, my pretty fabric. And I am using a tartan flannel, and I'm going to use that for the cape and for the dress. It's going to look so cute, but also be nice and warm and cozy, and I am very excited about it. Also, you want your lining to be just ever so slightly smaller than your outside fabric, because you don't want like your lining like popping out and peeking out and folding weird. So it worked out really well to have the lining cut out first, and then to use the lining to help cut out the main fabric, because if you're using something to be your pattern, it's going to be the same size or slightly smaller than what you're cutting out. The first thing that I started to do when actually putting the outfit together is I am working on marking the pleats that go across the crossbody front panels. Trying to mark pleats that also are not on a pattern, like a tissue paper pattern, was a little bit more difficult than I thought, but it did indeed work out. And then also trying to make sure they all line up on the lining and the outside fabric. That was fun. Actually, it wasn't. It was not fun at all. That was sarcasm, because they didn't line up perfectly. The lining was indeed smaller than the outside fabric, but I made it work. The outside fabric was somehow a lot bigger, and I just kind of had it fold over to where the lining is really just a lining and like a base, and then the outside fabric is on top of it. Now I went ahead and I put everything together on the outside fabric first, and then I put together everything in the lining, and then I would attach them. I'm not going to show how I put together the lining as well, because it's the exact same of how I did this. Once I had the front bands pleated, I attached them to the back panel, and then that created a giant place to put the arm cap. The arm cap attaches all the way down the back panel, but then only to the top little crescent of the front panel, and then the rest is free and just hangs there. And I'm using my machine to sew all of this. This cape is indeed from 1910, and I should have used my hand crank sewing machine if I was going to be historically accurate, but alas, I did not. While I have a lot of time for this project, I also want to be respectful of my time, and I'm making this for fun, not for a historical thing. I'm pairing it with an outfit that is very modern. This is not really being used so much as a historical costume piece as it is more of a history bounding piece for me. And here I am sewing the lining just like the way I sewed the outer garment. I'm using this brown synthetic fabric that I've had in my stash for a very long time. Now there's one last piece that I need to cut out of this pattern, and that is the collar. One of my favorite things about this cloak is the collar. I think it's so cute. I think it adds that kind of like fun, like we're about to go into the Art Deco decade. So I cut out the pattern in the tartan fabric, and then I cut out a smaller rectangle in the lining fabric, and that little rectangle is going to be top stitched down to the top layer of the collar for just like a fun little pizzazz. Like there's like no functionality to it. I'm going to stitch this down with my sewing machine here. I am being really careful to have a nice straight line because this top stitching is going to be insanely visible. It's on the collar, it's right by your face where people are going to be looking. So I tried to make sure that my corners looked extra crisp and I had really nice, perfect straight lines. Were they perfect? No, probably not. Nothing is. But I tried really hard and I was happy with the results. I then went ahead and put the backing of the collar on, which is also going to be in the tartan fabric because it's the collar. It's going to be shown. It's not going to have the lining. I guess you technically could have put the lining on the back as well, but that's not what the pattern called for. And I think it makes more sense to do it like this when you have the lining peeping out on the front as well. So I went ahead and I gave that collar a nice press. There's nothing else in the collar, no interfacing, nothing like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and pin the collar onto the cape where it should be and then try it on.
I am extremely happy with how this cape is looking, and I think I could even wear it with this dress. I love this dark blue dress that my mom got me for my birthday a few years ago, and I am loving this, and I'm so happy with how the collar is laying. I really like the color scheme that we have right here with the green and the dark blue and then the brown. I think that it's just so fall and so winter. I'm so happy. Okay, so now I have the collar pinned on, and then I'm going to need to pin the lining to this, and that's going to take a long time because we're going to have to go all the way around. But then it's together, and I just have to put attachments in the back, a fastener. So I'm really excited.
All right, so it is time to attach the lining to the fashion fabric. This did not line up as perfectly as I had hoped, but I made it work. You know, it's fabric, it can be manipulated, it can be cut and trimmed, and it ends up being okay. Well, this part was not necessarily too difficult. It was incredibly time consuming to pin all the way around. Now, I decided that the best place to leave a little opening to right side everything out would be at the bottom back center. So I left a little slit in the bottom back center. As you can see, this was very hard work. Lucky just got tuckered out. Do you have anything to say, Lucky? She's helping me video edit right now too. All right, it also took a while to stitch all of that down as well, because again, it is a giant, cute little cape. After I completed the cape, I then began working on the dress that matches the cape. I will have a whole nother video out about how I made that in 2 weeks on Saturday. Let me know if you like the Saturday post days. I'm still trying to see if that works out well for people. It seems to work well for me, but you know, if Thursday's better, just let me know. We'll see what we can make happen. Thankfully, I finished this cape with lots and lots and lots and lots of time before going to Scotland, but it was still time to go before I knew it, and it didn't feel like it was going to be real. Like, it didn't feel like, yeah, we're going to Scotland, until like we were on the plane going to Scotland, because this is a trip that we have been planning for like 2 years, and now it's finally happening. And oh my gosh, it felt like a dream. It was amazing. And Scotland, just, it feels like such a magical place. And I just I don't know, are there ever just places that you go where you just feel like so inspired? There's a few places I can name where I just step into that place and something just feels so right about it. So here is myself with the cape and matching dress in Edinburgh, near where we were staying in Leith. Leith is absolutely lovely, would highly recommend. But of course, we also went to the Royal Mile and Edinburgh Castle, and we also went to Calton Hill, and we had this beautiful view of the city from the top of the monument that we climbed. It was just, we had beautiful weather. It was wonderful. Now here you will see this is what the cape looks like without the matching dress. I was happy because I was worried about how it would look without its matching dress. But I have this green dress that I think it looks good with. I have that blue dress that I think it looks good with. So I am glad that it is more versatile. And this is how you put it on. You just wrap it around your torso and then it hooks in the back. While we were driving to the Isle of Skye, we came across this beautiful little pull-off park that I think ended up being one of our favorite places that we stopped while in Scotland. It's called Bunloin Park on Lake Clooney. I hope I am saying that correctly. We had just the absolute best time exploring Scotland with our family, and we make really great travel partners. It was just one of the best trips I've been on. It was so much fun. Whatever we ended up doing, we had a good time because we were with each other.
That was pretty good.
Is it having a hard time with how fast we're going?
Oh no, I'm just videoing.
That's gonna be funny in the video when you listen to it later.